Drivers and passengers suffer as Abuja-Lokoja gridlock worsens. "28 travelers kidnapped in Plateau community." "45 years later, Kano remembers the carnage of Maitatsine." And away from Nigeria, clashes in Democratic Republic of Congo's Uvira after M23 promised to withdraw. Hello there, a very good evening. Thanks for joining us on News Hour tonight. I am Fatima Abbas Hassan. Gunmen have abducted 28 travelers in Zak community, Bashar district, Wase local government area of Plateau State. The victims, including men, women and children, were reportedly on their way to attend a Maulud event on Sunday night. Saipi Sambu, a local youth leader, said 2 princes and a religious leader were among those kidnapped. The travelers' vehicle was later found abandoned on the outskirts of the community, confirming the victims had been taken. Efforts to locate the kidnapped travelers have so far been unsuccessful, though security forces have been alerted. SP Alabo Alfred, spokesperson for the state police, confirmed that an investigation into the incident is ongoing. And now our reporter in the state, Ado Musa, is joining us via phone call to give us an update. Good evening and thank you for joining us.
Good evening.
Now, can you provide more details on how the abduction occurred and the condition of the traveler's vehicle when it was found?
According to the leader or one of the youth leader in the communities, the vehicle was seen in the morning after people have started going about their normal activities on Monday. So when they saw the vehicle, they quickly alerted the traditional ruler that his vehicle was seen abandoned and the occupants were nowhere to be found. So he already knew that 2 of his children and other occupants have already traveled to Sabon Lai to attend the event. So that now told the community that all was not wrong because the vehicle was seen abandoned and the occupants were nowhere to be found. So they quickly now informed the security agencies within and around to ensure that the occupants are trailed so that they are rescued. So that was how the vehicle was found. The vehicle was just seen in the morning without the occupants inside.
Okay, now, what actions have security forces taken so far to locate the kidnapped victims? And are there any leads?
Well, according to the resident of the community who confirmed to me that security agencies have been deployed to ensure the rescue of the victims. But when I contacted the spokesperson of the State Police Command, DSP Alabo Alfred, he confirmed that
I'm afraid we have lost our correspondent in Plateau, Ado Musa, who was giving us an update on the incident there. So moving on, Chairman of the Presidential Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms Committee, Taiwo Oyedele, has outlined the consequences Nigerians may face if the new tax laws are not implemented by January 1st, 2026. Speaking in an interview, Oyedele said about 98% of Nigerian workers could continue to suffer multiple taxation if the reforms are delayed. His comments followed calls by former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, Labour Party's 2023 presidential candidate Peter Obi and civil society groups for the suspension of the laws. Oyedele, however, urged critics to seek amendments rather than outright cancellation, noting that some sections passed by the National Assembly require review. President Bola Tinubu recently signed 4 tax reform bills into law, described as the most comprehensive overhaul of Nigeria's tax system in decades. The laws are scheduled to take effect on January 1st, 2026. Now to party politics. The People's Redemption Party, PRP, has called for the suspension of the newly enacted tax reform laws signed by President Bola Tinubu. The party claims the version gazetted for public use differs from what was passed by the National Assembly. In a statement, PRP's national chairman, Falelu Bello, demanded a full-scale investigation into alleged discrepancies, insisted those found culpable must be punished. The party also urged the federal government to halt implementation pending resolution, warning of possible court action. The call follows revelations by a lawmaker that some provisions in the gazetted laws were not debated or approved by lawmakers. While the presidency dismisses claims of secret alterations, critics, including former Vice President Atiku Abubakar and Labour Party candidate Peter Obi, have also called for suspension until clarifications are made. The tax laws are scheduled to take effect on January the 1st, 2026, and the controversy has sparked widespread debate over democratic governance and executive authority. We're now being joined via Zoom to discuss this by a legal practitioner, Mitiu Akinsoya. Mitiu, good evening and thanks for joining us.
Good evening and thank you for having me.
Okay, let's begin. What is the legal implication of this uncertainty over the new tax laws?
Yes, so under our system, the lawmaking powers are conferred on the legislature, the National Assembly in our case, and that's the Senate and the House of Reps. And the powers to assent to those bills before they become law is on the executive or on the president, as in this case. So whatever the National Assembly passes into law, if the president or the executive is not satisfied with the content, what the executive should do is to highlight those provisions that they are not satisfied with, and then send it back to the National Assembly for another round of debates and for possible amendments as the executive may wish. Our system does not provide for a situation where the National Assembly passes a bill and then the executive or the president will alter that bill. So if investigation shows that the bill that was sent by the National Assembly to the executive was altered, that's a big mess of the whole situation. And what that means is that we must go back to the drawing board. Perhaps the National Assembly will have to look at it again and then re-forward that bill to the president for a proper assent.
Okay. Now, it looks like a large section of Nigerians has been conspicuously silent about this issue, meaning that maybe they're not bothered. But can the House of Reps alone handle the gaps involved?
Of course, the House of Reps cannot do it alone. We run a bicameral legislature. They have to do it in consonance with the Senate. I do not know if these additions are true or not, but I know that presently there is an investigative panel set up already by the House of Reps. What we look forward to seeing is how quickly they can conclude their investigation and come out with a report. And if the report shows that the bill that was sent to the president was tampered with, then of course the Senate will also have to weigh in. We would not expect to see a situation where the Senate will keep silent, because that will open a Pandora's box, and that will also make a mess of our institution, a mess of our arms of government.
Okay, so thank you very much for joining us and for sharing your insight.
Thank you very much for having me.
Now, we take you to Niger State, where the governor, Umaru Bago, has received the remaining abducted students and staff of St. Mary's Catholic School, Papiri, in Agwara local government area. The handover took place on Monday with the National Security Advisor, Nuhu Ribadu, represented by Major General Adamulaka, formally returning the students to state authorities. Speaking at the event, Major General Laka said security agencies worked tirelessly since the abduction to ensure the safe rescue of the children, emphasizing the federal government's commitment to protecting every Nigerian child. Governor Bago expressed gratitude to President Bola Tinubu and the NSA for their swift and decisive actions that led to the successful return of the victims. Over 300 children, teachers and staff were abducted from the Catholic school on November the 21st. But with this handover, the remaining 130 have now been safely reunited with their families.
Let me want to thank God for the mercy He has shown us. Because if you look at these children and imagine the torments they went through, it's unbearable. From the last time they brought the first 100, I told you about the smallest. But looking at these children now, it's scary. We want to thank Mr. President, we want to thank the NSA, DGSSS, every other person that was part of this rescue. It's unprecedented. It's never happened like this in Nigeria, for you to get everybody back on heart. So we thank God. And this is also a Yuletide season. It's Christmas. We are hopeful that we will reunite these people back with their families by the grace of God immediately so that they can do the Christmas.
I am here on behalf of the National Security Advisor, Madam Nuhu Ribadu, MNI, to formally announce the rescue and formally hand over the remaining 130 victims, both teachers and students of St. Mary's Private Catholic Primary and Secondary School, Papiri, Agwara local government area, who were adopted on the 21st of November 2025. This rescue was a result of the directive of the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and intense and coordinated operations by the National Security Advisor in conjunction with the Department of State Services, the Armed Forces, the Nigerian Police, other security agencies and international partners, which has yielded another landmark achievement of rescuing the victims unhurt.
And from Niger State, we take you to faraway Zamfara, where we bring you a report which says bandits attacked Maru town, the headquarters of Maru local government area in the state. Eyewitness Ibrahim Hamida said the attackers entered through the river in the eastern part of the town and operated for over an hour before fleeing in disarray. The attack left 4 people dead, others injured, and at least 10, including children, abducted. The injured are currently receiving treatment at the hospital. Ibrahim praised the security forces for their quick response and noted that residents fearlessly confronted the bandits after the call to prayer in the mosque, using it as a signal to defend themselves. The Maru Local Government Council Chairman, Bello Jabaka, confirmed the attack and said preparations are underway for the burial of the 4 victims. The federal government has officially declared kidnappers and violent armed groups as terrorists, signaling a major escalation in Nigeria's response to abductions and attacks on rural communities. Announcing the move on Monday, the Minister of Information, Mohammed Idris, said any individual or group that kidnaps children, attacks farmers, or terrorizes communities will now be treated under full counterterrorism measures. The minister added that the policy will strengthen intelligence sharing and operational coordination among security agencies, enabling faster and more decisive action. He also highlighted the deployment of trained forest guards to secure remote areas and dismantle criminal hideouts, while noting that coordinated operations in 2025 led to the capture of 2 of the continent's most wanted criminals. This new classification reflects the government's zero-tolerance stance on rural violence and signals an expanded role for security forces in protecting vulnerable communities. In the meantime, the federal government says its recent diplomatic tension with the United States involving threats of military intervention over alleged mass killings of Christians has been largely resolved. The Minister of Information, Mohammed Idris, stated this at a year-end press conference in Abuja. He said Nigeria navigated complex international diplomacy in 2025 with maturity and principle. Idris also highlighted bilateral agreements with the United States aimed at boosting healthcare.
Also listen very well. I mentioned that the United States government is going to contribute about $2.1 billion, and the remaining $3 billion will be provided as counterpart funding for Nigeria. And this is the biggest kind of collaboration within the health sector that even the United States has engaged upon. I think what is instructive is that at a point that people believe that America has turned its back on Nigeria, America is indeed coming back to Nigeria, re-engaging with Nigeria in multiple fronts. In security, you saw the congressional leaders when they came here. You saw the kind of comments that they have made. You also saw that, there is another push by the American government to collaborate with Nigeria in the health sector to drive health reform in this country. So the most important thing for me is that window of opportunity to re-engage with the United States of America for the benefit of our own people, having respect for each other, having respect for our constitution and for our traditions and for our culture.
In the meantime, the United States President Donald Trump has recalled Richard Mills, the U.S. ambassador to Nigeria, as part of a major diplomatic shake-up affecting more than 24 American missions worldwide. Africa was the most impacted, with Nigeria among 15 countries whose envoys are being recalled, alongside nations including Algeria, Egypt, Rwanda, and Senegal. State Department officials say the ambassadors, initially appointed under the Biden administration, were informed last week that their tenures will end in January. While their roles as chiefs of mission conclude, they will retain their foreign service positions and may return to Washington for other assignments. Mills' recall comes amid ongoing efforts to strengthen U.S.-Nigeria relations, particularly on security cooperation, and follows his recent meeting with Nigeria's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Yusuf Tuga. The move is part of Trump's broader effort to align U.S. diplomatic representation abroad with his America First foreign policy priorities. And in Kano State, residents are raising alarm over rice mills operating within residential communities. They say soot noise and pollution are affecting their health, comfort and environment. Abdulaziz Ibrahim has more.
Makera Samir Baba in Gezawa local government area is one of the communities where the residents say they are struggling with the impact of a rice mill close to their homes. Residents showed us houses covered in soot and chaff which they say comes from the mill, while the soot affects their clothes, breathing and eyes, especially those of children.
At times at night, the noise wakes me and my baby for more than 30 minutes and I struggle to calm the baby. We are always sweeping as if we are street sweepers. My children's uniforms, which I just wash with other clothes, are covered in soot.
We have been living here for the past 7 years before this company, Dan Ear Rice, started operating. Since then, it has become difficult to live here, and it seems the company does not want to make amends. Residents insist that the community is residential, not industrial, and are calling for urgent government intervention. We have informed the relevant authorities. The problem is evident. Even as we stand here, soot appears on your clothes and enters your eyes. In fact, until some kind of investigation is done, we cannot say the extent to which it affects our health. In response, the Dan Ear Rice Mill owner Ali Aliu, when reached by phone, denied invading residents' privacy or causing harmful air pollution, insisting that the mill operates legally within an industrial zone. Meanwhile, in Dangoro Estate in Kumboso local government area, another rice mill is causing concern. Though operations have yet to begin, residents fear they might face similar challenges. Unauthorized land development is also raising worries about future conflicts.
We saw the way the plan was before we come here, and it's very okay. But all of the sudden, they started encroaching lands on top of pipeline. So how we safe?
And especially with the encouragement of this rice mill, which will cause a lot of hazards to the people resident in that area. So we are appealing to the state government to please come and see into this our problem so that the right step will be taken.
Back in Makera, the community leader explained that when confrontations began, he convened a meeting between residents and the mill owner. The meeting led to some adjustments. When the people came to us, we invited the company for a meeting to find a solution. This led to the company providing a means to evacuate the hot water. As for the issue of flaring of soot, the company increased the height of the pipe expelling it. Despite these efforts, residents remain dissatisfied and recently gathered to express their displeasure, urging authorities to act before the situation escalates. Officials of the State Ministry of Environment and Climate Change stated that appropriate action will be taken once official complaints are received. Authorities are expected to balance industrial growth with the health and well-being of residents. Abdulaziz Ibrahim, Trust TV News, Kano.
Despite claims by the federal government that the gridlock on Abuja-Lokoja Expressway has been cleared, the situation on ground tells a different story. For over 4 days, videos and images of heavy traffic congestion along the route have continued to circulate on social media. To verify these claims, Trust TV's Noel Sampson traveled the expressway to give a first-hand account of the situation.
The scene is dramatic. The atmosphere is thick with frustration as hours of waiting and uncertainty weigh heavily on motorists and passengers along the Abuja-Lokoja Expressway. Trust TV's crew initially encountered free-flow traffic on the Abuja-Kogi axis, giving the impression that the reported gridlock had eased. Despite visible potholes and ongoing road construction forcing motorists to drive against traffic in some sections, movement remained smooth until about 39 kilometers to Lokoja before the situation changed. The situation changed sharply near Ozi village and became fully evident at Opaka, where trucks, articulated vehicles and cars were completely immobilized on both lanes with no clear end in sight. Traffic only moved barely at intervals of about 30 minutes as smaller vehicles attempted to maneuver through bush paths and dusty shoulders. Many passengers were seen trekking long distances or on boarding vehicles to board motorcycles in an effort to bypass the gridlock. The traffic, estimated to stretch for about 20 kilometers, also created an opportunity for roadside traders who took advantage of the standstill to sell food, water, and other items. Efforts by Trust TV to reach the end of the gridlock were unsuccessful. However, interviews with drivers and commercial motorcyclists coming from Abuja-Axis confirmed the severity of the congestion ahead.
It's more than terrible. There's nothing to hide. Like 2 days ago, on top of this hill that we ran on the night, many of our vehicles broke down. Even as I'm talking to you now, it has caught my tire over there. I haven't seen any road safety, except if it's like yesterday that I wasn't here. About 3 days ago, I passed through it. I started from 37 kilometers to Abuja. I didn't see any single road safety. It's all the driver, both trailers and small vehicles. Everybody came down and starts making sure that one after another we go back one by one until we let. Nothing like road safety.
I am coming from Niger, and this traffic gridlock is too much. We want the government to intervene. The main cause of this gridlock is impatience. The road is too narrow for a number of vehicles using it. We want the government to expand the road. If this is done, this traffic problem will be solved. Most of the traffic is caused by impatience and bad roads. On my motorcycle from here to the end of the gridlock, we charge passengers about 8,000 naira. Drivers coming from the Koigazis told Trust TV they have been stranded for up to 2 days, with frustration evident as he described the conditions from Lokoja. This gridlock is caused by bad road and too many vehicles. I have been here since yesterday. It is about 13 kilometers from here to the bridge. I have wasted a lot of fuel here. This traffic is the worst I have ever experienced.
Yeah, since yesterday night around 7 o'clock, I've been this Lokoja road. Till now, I've not get to my destination.
Where are you going to?
I'm going to Abuja.
So what's the cause of this gridlock?
Nobody can really say until you get to the place. When you get there, they will say exactly place. That's the point. But when you get there, you see there, you get there, you see traffic. Although they are concerned, this kind of traffic congestion.
So do you think it's impatient of drivers that cause this?
True, it's impatient of driver. I want to go. I will not allow you to go. That's the major thing that causes this.
This one is not good though. I don't finish fire for so. Waiting for mainly no so in the do as that yo. I be finish so. Now after that for no as that yo. Yeah, because of that road, it's no good at all. From where did it start from?
Passengers who depend on commercial transport were also affected, expressing exhaustion and anger over the delay.
Coming from Abuja, Asaba.
So you've been like confused for like how many hours now?
I can't tell. I can't possibly tell how many hours.
So what's your appeal to the government concerning this gridlock?
Well, I think this is the first time I'm experiencing this thing on this road. Last year wasn't like this.
So what's your appeal to the government concerning this?
They should fix it now. That's the only thing I'll say. That's the only thing I'll say. They should fix it. They should try and fix it, because the masses are suffering it.
I'm coming from Kaduna. I don't reach I don't see motor.
How many days you done the road like this one? How many days you done the road?
No see motor.
How many days you done this road now?
3 days. 3 days. Abuja. 3 days. We are suffering.
So wait till one make government for
make they help us. Make they help us look for this road. I beg.
I dey come from Zuba.
They go where?
They go Edo State. Auchi.
How many days you done the road now?
Now this morning we come out since now. Our motor now, if you see where it drop us, follow inside bush now. We now our track now, we don't know where we want to end. The same way they call front. We don't know where we want to go meet. We don't know where we want to end. And this stress is too much. May government help us now. May they help us. At least with all this now. Okay, look at this festival season now. See stress. Trekking now, not be small trekking. Very far distance now. We don't even know where we want to end now. The sufferness is too much. Because of God, may they help us.
While drivers and passengers battled delays, traders along the route said gridlock boosted their sales. Because of the gridlock, I made more money here than outside. Normally, I sell between 2,000 and 3,000 naira, but here I've made about 6,000 naira. I bought ice cream from Abuja and I got stuck in this traffic. I had to go to the nearest village to borrow a wheelbarrow. And now I am selling the ice cream here in the gridlock. Business is very good because the weather is very hot. If I had bought more, I'm sure I would have sold everything. Appeals have been made to government authorities to urgently address the situation as the Abuja-Lokoja expressway remains one of the busiest routes, especially during festive periods. Drivers are also urged to exercise patience as reckless driving and impatience were said to have worsened the gridlock. Well, Samson, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Moving on to more stories now. The National Security Advisor, Nuhu Ribadu, has said that President Bola Tinubu is satisfied with the leadership of Rivers State Governor Siminalayi Fabura, describing the state as one of the most peaceful in the country. Ribadu spoke during a courtesy visit to the Rivers State Government House, where he led a presidential delegation to consolidate ongoing peace efforts in Ogoni land. He said a new chapter is unfolding in Ogoni, noting that President Tinubu directed him to thank Governor Fabura for his leadership and coordination on discussions surrounding the resumption of oil exploration. Ribadu also conveyed the president's appreciation to the Ogoni people for their patience and support. The Minister of Works, David Umahi, assured that key infrastructure projects, including sections of the East-West Road and flyover in Ogoni land, will be completed by April next year, while designs are underway for the Boni-Bodo Road and the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway to pass through Ogoni. Governor Fabura thanked the president for his intervention, reaffirming his commitment to sustaining peace, rebuilding confidence, and ensuring development thrives in Rivers State.
Your Excellency, I will still repeat your support. You did well. You provided enabling environment for that. You make it possible. And not only that, you also supported directly with a couple of things that is helping us to move forward. I will just name, the campus and the creation or the establishment of the university wouldn't have been possible without your own support. Yes. We want to acknowledge that, sir. Two, of course, the provision of the South-South Zonal Office for the Office of the National Security Advisor. Thank you very much. And of course, we still continue. The hospitals, the 4 hospitals that we are also working towards making them functional, you have supported it, you have given it, but we will still ask more.
The president has a very deep, love and a commitment, towards the people of Niger Delta. If you take from the east-west route, from Okene there, running to Benin, you have 3 sections of this west route now being built by the president. The president asked me a question about a week ago. He said, all these routes that we are doing now, what has happened in the past? And that is the question Nigerians should be asking. Why is it that everything became a priority in terms of our road construction now? And so we want to assure you that, there are 3 sections there that are going on and are going on very well.
Even if the process is not going to be an easy process, which we all know is not easy, but let us start from somewhere. And we are beginning to see the result. What are the results? We had the first meeting with Mr. President. Some commitments were made. Commitments like East-West Road, which I'm even one of the beneficiary of that road. You can't go to my place without transversing through that road. Today, at least a section of that road is motorable. You can drive even Let me not be sarcastic. You can close your eyes and drive along one lane of it.
As Nigerians mark the Yuletide season with celebrations, a troubling trend is rising alongside the festivities. That is, the growing activities of loan sharks. Online advertisements and instant loan offers are flooding phones and social media platforms, drawing many unsuspecting Nigerians into financial traps that often end in threats and intimidation. The report.
Christmas is a season of joy, marked by travel, shopping, and generous spending. But for many Nigerians grappling with economic hardship, the pressure to meet festive expenses has led to an increase in borrowing. Across the country, citizens are bombarded with loan offers through text messages, phone calls, and social media platforms such as Facebook and Instagram. These messages promise quick cash to cover personal expenses. However, behind the attractive offers are short repayment periods and extremely high interest rates. Many borrowers say they are often unaware of the full terms and conditions until repayment is due, by which time their debts have increased significantly.
For me, it's like they are using it to help some people, but the time they are used to give somebody is too low. Like, let government tell them so that they will register this thing, so that they will use it to help people. You know, when somebody need that money, when he take it immediately, sometimes there's like money is not, somebody will not have money.
If they know their home address or their Apple address or anything inside the phone number, they can contact them to return the money back, and they will not borrow them again if they know say they don't meet up the time to return the money. They are helping people for that one. As they help you, help them back to pay back the money. That is the special thing that you can do.
Most times they are helping people, but the rate and the way they do to people is what is bad in there. Because if you cannot pay, they have the right to call you personally and talk to you. But most of them, they will blackmail you, call people you don't know, call your friends, or maybe the 4-2 number they know about your number. They start calling the person, telling the person they should go and look for you, that you are this, you are that. So that's just the problem there. Most times they normally help, but at the end, if you have just a little issue with them, that's where it is not good at all.
When you borrow 5,000 naira now, they can tell you to pay 4-5 as interest, or 9,000 or 8,000 as interest. So if it is a help they are rendering to the society, when you borrow 5,000, if they put 1,000 naira on it, it's not too much, but they will put an interest whereby even you yourself, if you have that money, you will not even borrow that money.
Residents who spoke to Trust Television expressed concern that while online loan apps claim to offer financial help, they often operate solely for their own interests and not for the economic growth of the country. Borrowers lament high interest rates, harassment, intimidation, and alleged blackmail of defaulters. As the festive season continues, Nigerians are being advised to live within their means. With economic hardship deepening, experts warn that borrowing from unregistered online loan apps can worsen financial strain. They urge individuals who may not be financially capable of repaying loans when due to refrain from borrowing in order to avoid debt traps and public embarrassment.
And as Christians in Gombe State gear up to celebrate Christmas, clerics are calling for discipline during the festive period, while the police is assuring residents of adequate security and soliciting public cooperation. Hassan Lawal Koli has more on that.
Christian clerics in Gombe have urged worshippers to celebrate Christmas responsibly, emphasizing moral values and self-discipline. Reverend Apollos Hassan told congregants to avoid simple acts, saying the season should reflect peace, love, and respect for others.
You can imagine somebody who is not in his senses driving people that are in their sins. I am telling you, these kind of journey or passengers are into trouble or danger. So my call, let's celebrate the period where by saluting God, by doing the needful, by drilling or else living parts that are not actually worthy. Let emulate the worthy ones so that the name of the Lord will be glorified and the nation entirely will be blessed.
Reverend Gaius Foley added that the festive season is a time to pray for national peace and unity. He also called on security agencies to enforce traffic regulations to ensure safe travel for all residents.
Christmas is about salvation. It's not for taking alcohol, not for fighting with one another in the streets, not for abusing people, but it's to share the gospel. Because when we look at the book of Matthew chapter 28 from verse 19, said that go ye into the world and preach the gospel. So youth, they should go and preach the gospel. God called the 12 disciples to go into the world and they turned the world around. So that's why the gospel now is handed over to us today. So youth, they are the backbone of the church. So they should humble themselves and take the gospel where Christ wants them to be.
The Gombe State Police Command has assured residents that adequate security measures have been put in place across the state for Christmas.
We are advising them to write to us so that we can equally prepare ourselves, prepare our traffic control mechanisms, crime prevention mechanisms, and probably for proper coordination, security coordination, so that if it is possible, we can avoid areas that are under construction, or we can avoid areas that we are now having one lane, so that to avoid any unforeseen circumstances.
Authorities stress that cooperation between resident and security agencies is essential to ensure a peaceful and incident-free festive season in Gombe State. Hassan Lawan Koli, Trust TV News, Gombe.
Now imagine waking up in your house, but instead of the sound of the morning prayer or breakfast cooking, you hear gunshots. 45 years ago, this was the reality for Kano residents after a man named Maitatsine turned the city into a battlefield for 11 long days. By the time it was over, 4,000 people were dead. This is the story of how a neighbor became a nightmare. Take a look.
Imagine waking up in your house, but instead of the sound of the morning prayer or breakfast cooking, you hear gunshots. 45 years ago, this was the reality for Kano residents after a man named Maitatsine turned the city into a battlefield for 11 long days. By the time it was over, 4,000 people were dead. This is the story of how a neighbor became a nightmare. Before the war, Maitatsine was just a man living in a neighborhood called Kogi. But Baba Habibu, who was there, says people knew something was wrong.
When Maitatsine returned to Kano, he built a house in Kogi. After that, I began to notice foreigners coming in, slowly at first, but their numbers grew. They carried weapons and we saw them being brought in at night and even during the day. We didn't know what they were planning, but the fear in the community kept rising. He built right across the neighbor's water path, and people came to me with complaints. Since I was the elder, I went to him myself and asked why he did it. He just laughed and said, "Who will stop me?" I told him no one. We gathered and decided to take the matter to the governor. Later, the Commissioner for Special Duties came, saw with his own eyes, and confirmed that Maitatsine was troubling us. Things only got worse. One day, Maitatsine came with his followers and even police saying I was wanted in Jakara. They took me and 4 other elders. The only elder left went to the State Assembly and demanded answers. Then the speaker called and ordered our release.
Long before, the then Emir of Kano, Muhammad Sunusi I, chased Maitatsine away because of his radical teachings and extreme religious beliefs. But when he was gone, Maitatsine slipped back into Kano and started gathering followers, telling them that anyone who didn't follow him was an enemy of Islam. Hajia Atine lived right behind Maitatsine's house. She remembers when the teacher stopped being a neighbor and became a monster.
At first, he was our neighbor. He had a school and we thought he was teaching the Quran, but it wasn't so. Our house faced the back of his house. When our husband gave out alms, he would give it to him first. He treated him well, but this didn't stop him from troubling us. Sometimes he would block the road and trouble us. Sometimes they would prevent people from entering or leaving. Even going to the mosque, they troubled us a lot. My husband got tired of it because if you reported him, you'd be arrested. So he decided to leave the house and we moved.
On December 18, 1980, the police went to stop Maitatsine from preaching his bad messages. They thought it would be a simple arrest. They were wrong. Thousands of Maitatsine's followers jumped out from everywhere, firing guns and slashing with sharp knives, axes and arrows. They killed 4 policemen and burned their vans. The police had to run away along with other residents.
The problem started when Maitatsine's son Tijani, whom we called Kanaana, was killed after a dispute over a woman. Tijani was wealthy, and when he took her, the other man fought back. Tijani was stabbed, and though he was rushed to the hospital, he died that same night. That night, I was the second person arrested. I was simply at my shop doing my work when they came for me. The man accused of killing Tijani was also killed because he was one of Maitatsine's students. Maitatsine asked me over and over who killed his son. I told him I didn't know. I was just 31 years old then, just trying to live my life. One day, one of Tijani's friends came to greet Maitatsine and left. Maitatsine didn't know him, but his followers did. They told him who the man was, and Maitatsine ordered that he be brought dead or alive. The man fled as if he knew what was coming. Then Maitatsine declared that the community leaders had paid money to kill his son. In the end, he let me go, but from that moment, we all knew the threat of revenge was hanging over us.
During these 11 days, many women were treated very badly and hurt by these men. It was a time of great shame and pain that people still find hard to talk about today. The army finally came and stopped the war. Maitatsine was killed, but the pain he left stayed behind.
All
the houses close to his were empty, so they broke into them and stole everything. We went inside and within 4 hours, Maitatsine came back with our husband's watch and cap. He asked where his wives were and we said we were there. He said he has killed him. We cried and he shouted at us. He put us in a room upstairs like a wood storage room. It was dark and crowded with people from the neighborhood. We had nothing to do but cook. We couldn't pray because they didn't pray. They would bring food for us to cook, sometimes shooting guns near us. I had eyes problem from the darkness and stress. Another woman had hearing problems. My co-wife's half-body was paralyzed. He abused us a lot.
Today, 45 years later, experts say we have to be careful. Even though Maitatsine is gone, there are still people who try to use religion to make people hate each other. 45 years later, we do not just remember the 4,000 who fell. We look at the Kano of 2025 and ask, have we truly learned how to spot the teacher before he becomes the monster once again?
And for a bit on business, gold prices shot to a record high on Monday as investors grew increasingly optimistic that the U.S. Federal Reserve will continue to cut interest rates through next year. The precious metal hit a peak of $4,383.76 in early trade as a string of data last week pointing to further weakness in the U.S. labor market and easing inflation gave the central bank room to ease monetary policy further. Monday's gain pushed the commodity past its previous high of $4,381.52, touched in October. China has announced it will impose temporary duties on certain dairy products imported from the European Union in the latest move in an ongoing trade dispute. The tariffs, ranging from 21.9 to 42.7%, take effect from Tuesday and target items including fresh and processed cheese, curd, blue cheese, as well as some milk and cream. Beijing launched an anti-subsidy probe in August 2024, following a request from the Dairy Association of China. Preliminary findings indicate a link between EU subsidies and substantial damage to China's domestic dairy industry. This announcement comes just a week after China imposed anti-dumping levies on EU pork imports for 5 years, ranging from 4.9 to 19.8%. The latest duties underscore growing tensions between China and the EU across multiple sectors, from food to electric vehicles. And away from Nigeria, clashes have erupted near Uvira in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo between the M23 group and pro-government militia, despite an earlier promise by the rebels to withdraw from the city. Local sources say gunfire broke out on Monday between M23 fighters and the Wazalendo militia, with shots heard across Uvira. The Rwandan-backed M23 had seized the strategic border city earlier this month, shortly after Congo and Rwanda signed a U.S. brokered peace deal. However, Washington has since accused Rwanda of violating the agreement. Although M23 leader Colonel Nanga announced a unilateral withdrawal, residents and security sources report that fighters remain behind. The clashes forced residents indoors, paralyzing activities as fighting spread to surrounding hills and neighborhoods. Congolese authorities have dismissed the withdrawal pledge as a media stunt, accusing M23 of redeploying around the city. Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger have launched a unified Sahel regional force. The ceremony took place at an Air Force base in Bamako, Mali, and was presided over by Mali's army ruler, General Assimi Goïta. The force, comprising 5,000 troops, is aimed at countering security threats and reflects closer integration between the three countries, all led by military juntas and facing Islamist insurgencies. Burkinabe General Dauda Touré was appointed to lead the force with its command based in Niamey, Niger. The event was attended by defense ministers from the Sahel Alliance, along with ambassadors and representatives of international organizations accredited to Mali. The Sahel Alliance was formed after the three countries withdrew from ECOWAS, accusing it of imposing harsh coup-related sanctions and acting against the interest of their citizens. And time now to take a look at stories in the world of sports. We now join Kabir Lawal for more on that.
Nigeria remained unchanged from the previous ranking published on 19th November, which had seen the Super Eagles climb 3 places from 41st. They also retained their position in the 6th-ranked team in Africa. Overall, 2025 proved to be a mixed year for the Super Eagles, but they still finished the year 6th place higher than where they started, having opened the year ranked 44th in the world. The first ranking of the year, released in April, saw Nigeria move up 1 place to 43rd. That progress was short-lived as the Super Eagles dropped 1 place in each next 2 ranking windows, falling to 44th in July and 45th in September. The October ranking marked a turnaround when Super Eagles climbed 4 places to 45th, their biggest rise in single update since moving up 14 places in February 2024 following their AFCON silver medal finish in Ivory Coast. The November ranking then saw the Super Eagles rise a further 3 places in 38 where they remain. On the African continent, Morocco remained the highest ranked team, holding steady at 11th in the world. Senegal stayed second in Africa and 19th globally. Algeria moved up 1 place to 34th, displacing Egypt, who dropped to 35th and 5th on the continent. Meanwhile, the Nigerian Super Eagles will play their first match tomorrow in the 35th African Cup of Nations in Morocco against Tanzania, 6:30 p.m. Nigerian time. Still on sport news, the top-tier sport management has praised Director General of the Nigerian Sport Commission, Honorable Bukola Olapade, for the administrative role he played in the company's multi-billionaire naira investment in Nigerian football that is said to set a new pace for domestic Nigerian leagues. Nigerian domestic football recently got a huge commercial rise after top-tier sport management announced a 40 billion naira investment into both Nigerian National League (NNL) and the Nigerian Women Football League (NWFL), which will span for the next 10 years. That's Sport News. I am Kabir Lawal.
And it's on that sporting note that we end News Hour on Trust TV tonight. We thank you for joining us. Do remember to join all our media platforms and YouTube live streams for more news. I am Fatima Abbas Hassan. Good night.